I quit my 9-to-5 job to create something better. Instead, I built something that controlled me even more. Growing up, I watched people trapped in the rat race and swore I'd find a different path. So I launched my own business, became an independent creator, but I fell for a more subtle trap. Work harder to be worth more. And hustle equals success. I missed family time, convinced myself that it would pay off eventually. And all it created was bitterness. I didn't lack tactics. I needed to challenge the core beliefs that were driving me. Stick to the end and I'll show you how I finally broke free and started building a business I actually wanted to run long term. There's a profound energetic cost to pouring your life force into something you're secretly hoping to abandon. I call this the misalignment tax. When you create a business with the primary goal of no longer having to run it, you make decisions that prioritize marketability over meaning. You end up building a business that serves people that are going to buy it from you rather than your own soul's purpose. And you cultivate an exit identity rather than an authentic entrepreneurial presence. You treat your current experience as merely instrumental and not inherently valuable. This fundamental misalignment creates the perfect conditions for numbing behaviors. The stress of building something that doesn't resonate with your deeper values, combined with the constant pressure of needing that big payday. That naturally drives you toward temporary escapes, whether through overwork, digital distractions, or more obvious numbing habits. I ended up in a situation where one question from my son changed everything. I was deep into batch editing YouTube videos for an online course when my 5-year-old son behind me said, "Dad, can you come to my birthday party?" But it wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. Like he was already preparing for disappointment. Like he was trying to make me feel better about the no that he expected to hear. He had this knowing, gentle tone that said, "I understand if you can't. Dad, I know you're working." And that's when it hit me. My son had learned to protect my feelings about missing his childhood. You see, I'd started this business with a promise. I remembered my own dad working weekends occasionally, and me and my siblings would just have to figure out something to do instead. I wanted to build a digital business that would give me freedom to be a present father. But somewhere along the way, chasing that freedom had turned me into exactly what I was trying to escape. "Sorry, buddy, Daddy is working." I'd said those words 100 times before, and my sweet son had learned not to expect anything different. He wasn't even disappointed anymore. He was just resigned. And here's the evolution of what changed and what's changed me. I closed my laptop after he asked me if I could go to his birthday party, and I said, "Yeah, buddy, I'll be there." But the real shift happened in the months after that conversation. I couldn't stop thinking about the gentle way he'd asked, like he was taking care of me instead of the other way around. I made dramatic changes to my work schedule. I set boundaries I'd never had before, and I realized that building a business you don't need to escape isn't about making enough money to eventually be free. It's about designing freedom into the business from day one. The most successful business in the world is worthless if it costs you the very life you're trying to build. My son taught me that presence isn't something you earn through productivity. It's something you choose every single day. When he asked me that question with such careful consideration for how I was feeling, I stopped building a business that required an escape plan. What would the people you love most say about how present you are in your own life? If you want my free blueprint for building a business you never want to escape, then grab the Find Your True North ebook in the description below. You set off with good intentions, but at some point, freedom itself becomes another prison. Here's what I discovered. The modern entrepreneurial narrative celebrates one story above all others. Build fast, break things, scale like mad, and exit a multimillionaire. Silicon Valley has exported this template worldwide. The dream of creating something valuable enough that someone else will pay millions to take it off your hands. But what happens when you build an entire business around the fantasy of no longer having to run it? It's something like a deferred life paradox, when founders sacrifice their present well-being for a hypothetical future that statistically few will ever reach, and even fewer will find fulfilling when they do. Consider these sobering realities. Less than 1% of startups exit for significant sums. 70% of founders who achieve substantial exits report feeling lost or depressed within a year. The average successful exit comes after 7 to 10 years of grueling work, years most described as just getting through. What's most troubling isn't the statistical improbability, it's the spiritual cost of building something you're actively trying to escape from. Look closely at serial entrepreneurs, those who build, exit, and then immediately start another venture. We celebrate this pattern as ambition, but often it reveals a deeper wound, an inability to find peace in the present moment. I've been having conversations with lots of creators recently. One common thread between all of them is the feeling of being trapped by their business. The few people who speak on this differently created with intentionality from the very beginning. But most people get into things with good intentions and soon find themselves playing the same game and feeling empty inside just like before. So rather than processing this emptiness, many entrepreneurs immediately launch into the next venture, perpetuating the cycle, building businesses they don't love, to fund a lifestyle they don't enjoy, to impress people they don't know. There's often an underlying reason why entrepreneurs become serial in the first place, why we approach this lifestyle in the first place. Here's what Gabor Mate reveals in The Myth of Normal. Most entrepreneurial drive isn't coming from inspiration, it's coming from unhealed wounds. What we call ambition is often the internal pressure of unprocessed childhood experiences seeking validation, control, or safety through external achievement. So unless you've done the work, you're not building a business because it aligns with your essence. Some part of you is still trying to prove you're worthy, safe, or enough. And when you build from that wounded place, you inevitably create sophisticated numbing, which is just success that actually disconnects you further from yourself. And remember this sobering statistic that 70% of founders feel depressed or lost within a year after exiting. Why? Because external achievement can never heal internal wounds. It just creates more elaborate ways to avoid feeling them. From a spiritual perspective, the exit-focused mindset represents a particular form of bypassing. It's the belief that some future financial circumstance will resolve your current spiritual discontentment. But what if the path isn't about escaping your creation, but becoming more fully present within it? What if true entrepreneurial mastery isn't about the exit, but about building something so aligned with your essence that it becomes a vehicle for your presence rather than something you're trying to escape from? This is what finally broke the cycle for me and how I began building a business that no longer needed an escape plan. I want you to imagine building a business that energizes you rather than depletes you, serves as a canvas for your deepest gifts and values, feels sustainable and nourishing for decades, not just until the exit, creates value regardless of whether you ever sell it, and functions as a spiritual practice in itself. This isn't about abandoning ambition, it's about redefining success from extraction to alignment, from escape to presence. Today, I'm sharing the 6 pillars of building a business that heals you as you build it. Imagine a business that becomes an authentic expression of who you truly are. Pillar number 1, business as a vehicle for presence, not escape. Most entrepreneurs treat their businesses like a sophisticated distraction machine, but your business can become a meditation practice, one that brings you closer to yourself, not further away. Martha Beck writes in The Way of Integrity that we make our best decisions when we're in alignment, when our thoughts, feelings, and actions are coherent. But here's the rub. Conventional business culture teaches us the opposite. It tells us to override the body, to push through, to treat exhaustion as a badge of honor. If you ever find yourself staring at a screen, knowing you need rest, but you open another tab instead, I want to share this little bit here about my life in Hawaii. I got to this point where I couldn't tell you the last time I'd felt the sun on my skin. People would comment on how pale I was, which is hard to achieve when you live on an island paradise. I take walks and only think about work, and I look at incredible beauty and feel nothing. I was completely disconnected. And in that mode, it's not strategy anymore, what I was building, it's just survival. Gabor Mate's work in When the Body Says No outlines the cost of this disconnection. Higher rates of anxiety, burnout, and stress-related illness, especially in entrepreneurs. And it's not because we're weak, but because we've been trained to disassociate from ourselves in the name of productivity. Here's a presence-based alternative. What if the real flex wasn't scaling faster, but scaling from stillness? Alex Soojung Kim Pang's research in Rest shows that breakthrough insights often arise during downtime, not grind time. What he calls active rest isn't laziness. It's a high-performance recovery method, a strategy for staying human while building something big. But theory only gets you so far. And here's how you can make this practical. Make key decisions only when you feel grounded in your body. Build micro sabbaticals into your day, like 5 minutes of breath or walking before a sales call. That can change everything. And notice when you're using work to numb and then pause and feel it instead of fleeing. Sometimes presence means walking away from your laptop mid-launch or mid-project to stretch, breathe, and ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? And there's a paradox here too. When you stop using your business to escape yourself, it stops running you. It becomes an extension of your clearest, most aligned self. Pillar 2, from externally validated to internally aligned metrics. We've been conditioned to chase numbers like they're crack cocaine. But these external metrics often become the very thing keeping us disconnected from our purpose. Judson Brewer's groundbreaking research in The Craving Mind reveals that our brains treat likes, followers, and revenue hits the same way they treat addictive substances, triggering dopamine release that keeps us craving more external validation. Here's the trap. Every time you check your metrics for validation, you're training your brain to believe your worth comes from outside yourself. This creates what Brewer calls a habit loop. Trigger could be insecurity, and the behavior, checking metrics, and the reward, temporary validation, and then you repeat. Cal Newport argues in Deep Work that the future belongs to those who can focus deeply, not those who can accumulate broadly. But depth requires what Martha Beck calls integrity, alignment between your values and your actions. So the shift is, instead of asking, how many followers did I gain? Ask, how aligned did I feel while creating today? And instead of, did this post get engagement? Ask, did this post feel true to my experience? Instead of, what numbers went up? Ask, what internal capacity am I developing? Or what skills am I developing? The real metric became, can I close my laptop when my family needs me? Can I be in Hawaii and actually experience Hawaii? Because what's the point of building something successful if you're too numb to enjoy any of it? Here are some practical internal metrics. Energy levels after different types of work. Sense of flow and presence during creation. Alignment between your values and daily actions. The quality of your rest and recovery. The depth of connection with your audience, not breadth. And there's a paradox here. When you stop chasing external metrics, your internal alignment often creates better external results, but you'll care less about them because you're fulfilled by the process itself. Pillar 3, the environment as teacher. Pillar 3 is all about designing spaces that support wholeness. Most people think productivity is about willpower, but your environment is either supporting your highest self or sabotaging it at a subconscious level. Your space is a mirror. Stephen Pressfield writes in The War of Art that resistance is a constant force working against our creative expression. But what if much of that resistance isn't internal, it's actually environmental? Your physical and digital spaces are constantly sending signals to your nervous system. Cluttered desk, your brain interprets as chaos. Notifications are pinging you every few minutes, your system stays in fight or flight. Harsh lighting, your creativity contracts. Cal Newport's research on deep work environments shows that specific physical cues can trigger focused states. But this goes deeper than productivity. It's about creating what Pressfield calls sacred space, where your truest creative self can emerge. So in your physical environment, Create one space that's only for the most important work. Remove visual distractions that trigger scattered thinking. Use natural light and plants to signal safety to your nervous system. Have a ritual that transitions you into sacred work mode. And in your digital environment, design your phone to serve your values, not hijack your attention. Create separate digital spaces for creation versus consumption. Use technology intentionally rather than compulsively. And there's also an energetic environment. Notice how different spaces affect your creative energy. Identify the environments where you feel most aligned. Create boundaries around when and where you consume information versus create. Your workspace sends signals to everyone around you too. When I realized my son had learned to protect my feelings about missing his childhood, I knew my environment was teaching him that work came first. What message is your setup sending to the people you love? Alex Sujung Kim Pang's research in rest reveals that our creative energy has natural rhythms. So in your rhythm of the day, think about different cycles. Your morning environment should be for generative work, minimal distractions, high energy. Your afternoon environment is about collaborative work. It's more open, more social. And evening environments, more for reflection, softer, and more contemplative. The deeper truth here is your workspace becomes a teacher, constantly showing you whether you're honoring your authentic creative process or forcing yourself into someone else's template. And if you want to establish a creative process that aligns with who you are, then make sure you check out the Find Your True North ebook in the description of this video, and you can start building your aligned business today. Pillar 4, community as resonance, not just accountability. Everyone talks about accountability partners, but what you really need is community that mirrors your potential rather than policing your problems. Traditional accountability focuses on external behaviors. Did you do what you said you'd do? But Stephen Pressfield argues in Turning Pro that sustainable creative discipline comes from identity alignment, not external pressure. When your community is constantly monitoring your actions rather than witnessing your becoming, you stay stuck in a performance-based relationship with yourself and with others. True community doesn't hold you accountable to your goals. It holds space for your authentic unfolding. This means surrounding yourself with people who see your highest potential and reflect it back to you, especially when you can't see it yourself. Here are signs to look for of a resonant community. They're excited about your authentic expression, not just your achievements. They share your deeper values, not just surface level interest. They inspire you to grow without making you feel inadequate. They witness your process with curiosity rather than judgment. They're doing their own inner work, not just chasing external success. What matters isn't just who you surround yourself with, but how you relate. This means moving beyond surface level networking to what we might call soul level connection. Here are some practical shifts that you can make. Share your struggles and insights, not just your wins. Ask questions that reveal who someone is becoming, not just what they're doing. Create space for vulnerable conversation, not just strategic planning. And celebrate growth and awareness, not just achievement. Begin to build relationships that nourish your authentic self, not your performing self. The paradox begins to show up when you stop trying to hold yourself accountable and start allowing yourself to be witnessed. You naturally become more aligned with your deepest commitments. Pillar 5, the aligned offering, creating from wholeness instead of lack. Most business advice says solve a problem people will pay for. But when you create from your own unprocessed wounds, you attract clients who keep you stuck in that same wounded pattern. Gabor Mate talks about how unhealed trauma drives us to repeat familiar emotional patterns, even in our work, especially in our work. If you're building a business to fix your money wounds, prove your worth, or feel in control, you might start attracting clients or situations that poke at those very same wounds. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because part of you is trying to resolve the past through the present. That's what I call the wounded healer trap. You help others through things you haven't fully moved through yourself. The business grows, but it doesn't feel easy. You get better at managing your symptoms, but not necessarily healing the root. And what really blocks the abundance isn't a lack of potential. It's the weight that you choose to carry each day, the gripping, the worry, the pressure to make it work. I remember my wife asking for just 2 hours of time. She wanted to have a date by the ocean, just 2 hours. But I had built myself a never ending task list and the belief that I needed to complete it to earn her love. I couldn't even make it through that tiny window without thinking about work. The weight of my undone tasks was preventing me from enjoying paradise with the person I love most. You see, abundance doesn't respond well to tension. It can't grow if you're clenching around it. And ease isn't found in fixation around the problem. It's found in releasing the tension so you can more fully focus on developing the solution. Elizabeth Gilbert writes in Big Magic about co-creating with mystery and joy rather than desperation or ego. But this requires what Pressfield calls turning pro, stepping into your mature, integrated, creative identity, the shift from lack to wholeness. From lack, I need to create something that will finally make me feel successful, worthy, or safe. From wholeness, I have something valuable to offer because of who I've become through my experiences. And from lack, I'll solve this problem because I'm desperate to solve it in my own life. And from wholeness, I'll share this insight because I've integrated it and it genuinely serves others. From lack, I need external validation to feel good about my work. From wholeness, my work is valuable because it comes from a place of authentic integration. When you create from wholeness, your business becomes what we might call a transmission, not just information transfer, but a way of being that naturally inspires transformation in others. So here are some practical questions to get into aligned creation. What have I genuinely integrated in my own life? What gifts have emerged from my own healing journey? How can I serve others from overflow rather than deficit? What would I create if I didn't need it to heal my own wounds? How can my business reflect who I'm becoming, not who I was? A paradox shows up when you stop trying to heal yourself through your business becomes a more powerful healing force for others. Pillar 6, Rhythmic Business Design, Honoring Natural Cycles. The business world worships constant growth and linear productivity, but nature doesn't move in straight lines. It pulses, contracts, expands, waits, bursts. And if you want to build something that lasts, your business needs to do the same. Jeremy Lent in The Web of Meaning explains how modern business mirrors our disconnection from natural systems. We build companies like machines that should run 24/7, optimized and efficient. But you're not a machine, and neither is your business. Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass offers a different model, one rooted in reciprocity. In nature, everything is relational. There's a give and a take, a season of offering and a season of rest. What if your business followed that rhythm? What if growth didn't mean always more, but deeper alignment? Because here's the truth. If you never allow contraction, you'll burn out in your attempt to expand. There is a rhythm to business. Alex Sujun Kim Pang's research in rest reveals a powerful pattern among peak performers. They don't push through, they pulse. They work in seasons, in rhythms, and in spirals. They know that real creativity requires an inhale and an exhale. So let's break that down. There are expansion seasons where you surge creatively, you make bold moves, you have launches, you work hard. There are contraction seasons. You have deep integration, you have integrated rest, you recalibrate, you read. And you have maintenance seasons where you sustain the systems, you refine the processes, you improve. And regeneration seasons where you step away, you listen, you restore. If you're always in expansion, you're not building, you're bleeding. Your body already knows the rhythm, but most of us were trained to ignore it. I had to learn this when I realized I was living in one of the most beautiful places on earth, but experiencing none of it. My natural rhythm included time for the ocean, for presence, for connection. But I'd built a business that demanded I override all of that. And the irony is, I moved to Hawaii for the lifestyle. Then I built a lifestyle that made location irrelevant. David Abram in The Spell of the Sensuous reminds us that our bodies are attuned to the world's subtle shifts. When you ignore your own natural feedback, your business starts to feel like a battle. When you honor it, things start to flow. Here's how that looks practically. In daily rhythms, are you a morning creator or an evening thinker? Build around that. And transition intentionally between creative and admin modes or manager modes. Let your body lead the schedule, not the calendar app. And in weekly rhythms, make room for both sprint and stillness. Designate one day for pure inspiration, no metrics, no meetings, maybe even no phone. Let your work week breathe. And seasonally, plan launches around your energy, not just market trends. Build in reflection time after big pushes, and let your ambition sync with your aliveness. And in life cycle rhythms, your business should evolve as you do. The way you ran things at 20 may not fit when you're 30 or 40. That's not failure. It's evolution. It's awareness. Don't just scale. Shed, change, shift, mature. Robin Wall Kimmerer teaches that sustainability lives in reciprocity, where what you give and what you receive exist in balance. Your business isn't just a tool for output, it's a mirror, a relationship. So give it your authentic gifts, receive real fulfillment. Give it your presence, receive meaningful work. Give it your wisdom, receive depth and resilience. Give it your care, receive stability and spaciousness. And the deeper shift happens when your business stops being something that you run. It becomes something you relate to, a living system, not just a profit machine. And when you treat it like an ecosystem, it will feed you across decades, not just quarters. And if you want to build something just like this, then get the free ebook in the description below. As it turns out, the real trap isn't the corporate ladder. It's the belief that your worth is tied to how much you can endure. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Most entrepreneurs aren't building businesses. They're building elaborate monuments to their unhealed wounds. Sophisticated prisons disguised as freedom. You think you've escaped the rat race, but you're just running on a different wheel. One you built yourself. Convinced yourself you love, and now can't figure out how to stop. The 6 pillars I've shared with you, they're not just strategies. They're an intervention. A way to stop betraying the very life you said you were building this for. Because here's what I realized. Standing in the kitchen, growing resentful, missing another family dinner, checking metrics at 11 p.m., and convincing myself this was just the season. I didn't need to work harder. I needed to stop running from the person that I was becoming. The opposite of hustle culture isn't laziness, it's presence. The opposite of building to exit isn't staying small. It's building something so aligned with your soul that walking away from it would feel like abandoning yourself. Most people chase entrepreneurial freedom only to recreate the same cage they escaped, just with better aesthetics. So consider this. If you're grinding, hoping it'll all be worth it someday, ask, worth it for who? The person you're becoming? Or the version of you that still believes suffering is the price of success? See, maybe you're not broken. Maybe the blueprint was never meant to fit you. And maybe the business you're building right now is either your path to freedom or your most sophisticated form of self-imprisonment. The choice is yours, but you don't get to make it unconsciously anymore.